Hello bead kids of all ages. Today we are making a golden snitch with 6x9mm pony beads, 4x6 mini pony beads, string, and one pipe cleaner. Here is another simple version of a snitch, but I am not going to demonstrate it now. You make the golden circle and tie your string. Make one wing and thread it through the circle and make the other wing. Please refer to the Bead Kids Dragon video and modify it. So the supplies you'll need is golden pony beads, 6x9mm, white 4x6 mini pony beads, string, a super ball, and one pipe cleaner. I'm using number 10 off-white cotton string, two 2.5-inch tapestry needles tied to the two ends of the string. I am starting with 6 feet of string, and I place the first bead in the middle of the string and clip it under a clipboard to hold it tight. I will string the next 11 beads like you normally do for a bead pet. The right needle goes into the right side, the left needle goes in the left side, and you pull it tight. You add the next bead, one bead at a time. The right needle goes in the right side, and the left needle goes in the left side. Pull it tight. I found that 12 beads will fit around the super ball. When you have all those 12 beads on, and you will have to check your own super ball to make sure it does fit. Then I connect the ends so that I have a circle. And then I tie a knot or two. We are then going to start stitching the beads in a brick pattern. So using just one string and a needle, I will add one bead. And then I stitch under the string between the two beads below, and then stitch up through the bead that I just added. You'll catch on as we go. It is not hard. So you add one bead, stitch under the string between the two beads below it, and then you stitch up through the bead you just added. Continue by adding another bead under the string and up through the same bead you just added. You will soon see how the beads are starting to stack in that brick pattern. So add one bead, stitch under the string between the two beads below it, and then stitch up through the bead you just added. It offsets the bead just like a brick pattern. Since we are decreasing as we go, at the end of the first row, you will skip the last bead and close the circle by connecting to the first bead of the second row. Pull your string tight. And then we'll continue on to the third row. From here on, you can try your beads onto the ball and stitch with the ball in place. When you pull the string tight, it will tighten the beads around the ball. So keep it fairly tight as you sew. You go around and around. Soon you will decrease by 2 or 3 beads per row until you close the circle with the last 1 or 3 beads. Feel free to add extra stitches to make sure your beads are lying against the super ball, and make sure the super ball is in your little half a ball tightly. If you run out of string, just add some more string, tie it with the square knot, and keep sewing. So there you see, add 1 bead and go back up through the bead you just added. Add 1 bead and go back up. Add 1 bead and go back up. I'm adding some more string here. I like to tie my needles to the end of the string. My 10-year-old grandsons taught me that one. Start on the 3rd row. Add 1 bead. Stitch under the string between the 2 beads and below, and then stitch up through the bead you just added. So adding extra stitches will help to pull it tight against the ball. And here is our first half of the ball. I come up through a couple beads so that I will do this second half of the ball the exact same way. Add 1 bead, stitch under the string between the 2 beads below, and then stitch up through the bead you just added. Continue by adding another bead under the string and up through the same bead. You will soon see how the beads are starting to stack in that brick pattern. So when you get close to being done, don't be afraid to add extra stitches. Make sure the beads are all sewn in tight. I added bead after I was finished because I had a hole that a bead could fit in, and it's easy to add another bead, an extra bead if necessary, even after you're done. Tie it off with a good square knot. Add a dab of glue if you'd like. And trim your tails. And now we are going to start on one of the wings with a peyote stitch. You can review other videos if you need more details on sewing the peyote stitch. But I'm starting with about 4 to 5 feet of string, and I tie one needle to the string. I am threading 23 white mini pony beads to the string. So mini pony beads are 4 by 6 pony beads. And our golden beads are the 6 by 9 pony beads, millimeters. Then you take your pipe cleaner and you start stringing every other bead onto the pipe cleaner. So the beads are on the string and every other bead goes onto the pipe cleaner. Our first row that's on the pipe cleaner will have 12 beads, and the second row, which is offset and below that row, or what we consider half a bead, has 11 beads. So the first row has 12, the second row has 11 beads. And watch the end because it's easy to dump the beads off your string and you just put them back on again. When you pull the string tight, the beads just line up perfectly. They will look like they are stacked in a brick offset pattern. 12 on the pipe cleaners and 11 in between. Now we're going to start sewing by going through the second row half a bead and then adding one bead. I want the wing to taper in instead of being a square wing. So you add one bead and go through the next half a bead. Add one bead and go through the next half a bead. This is considered the third row. Now when you get to the end of the third row, sew up through the last bead of row 2 and then row 1, and then you tie the 2 strings in a knot, and that will secure the whole your whole pattern. We will be using the pipe cleaner for our project, so don't remove it, but it is safe to remove your pipe cleaner or your wire at this time. So you circle the string down through the last bead of row 1, 2, and 3, and now your string is reversed and going in the opposite direction. Then you add one bead and thread the needle through the next half a bead. Add one bead and thread your needle through the next half a bead. At the end of the rows, you have to go up through 3 beads and then come back down through 2. So this will start looking like a V or a wing. We are making our Snitch's wing. So when your first wing is done, you tie off your string. And now I'm going to thread the other end of the pipe cleaner through 4 or 5 of the golden beads of my snitch. Just threads right through there. And I'm going to start on the second row. Let's go in one more. Don't pull too tight or I pulled a few beads off, but they're easily threaded back onto the pipe cleaner. And I'll bend the end of the pipe cleaner over to make sure I keep the beads on. So now we're ready to start on the second wing. I start with 4 or 5 feet of string. I thread one needle and I tie my needle to the end of the string. And I will add 23 mini pony beads on. Then you thread your pipe cleaner in every other bead. Now some people will tape their string down to the table so the beads don't come off, like mine do occasionally. Pull your string tight and they just line up perfectly. 12 on the first row and 11 on the second. Then you take your beads, your needle and thread, and start stringing them exactly like you did on the other wing. You add a bead, you string through half of a bead. You add a bead, and you put your needle through half a bead. Just slowing it down so you can see how you add one bead and then put your needle through half a bead. You go up through 3, turn your thread around and go through 2, and your string is facing the correct direction. Add one bead, go through the next half a bead. Peyote pattern. And when you get finished, you'll have your snitch done. And you can figure out how to display it. I love the look of the wings open. But I closed my my wings up with by twisting the pipe cleaner together, wrapping it with a little string, and putting a lanyard on it. You can figure out how you want to display yours. So beadkids.com manufactures a beading board that helps you with some of your beading patterns, either straight rows or brick rows. This project, we don't need a bead board. We also have the long needles for making, we're using with pony beads. And they go through the center of the pony beads. So here's our little snitch. Tie a knot, add some glue, add a lanyard, and come back next time. Bead creative, get with your favorite bead kid. Bead creative, come back often. Like, subscribe, and share.